A mother who was pushed out of her own home by her husband and daughter returns after 5 years of painful silence. During those years, she built a life nobody expected, not glamorous, but grounded, dignified, and quietly powerful. When she receives an anonymous message about her daughter's luxury wedding, she walks in not to ruin anything, but to reclaim her dignity. What happens next shakes her husband, cracks her daughter's arrogance, and exposes secrets buried for years. The wedding turns into a revelation that no one was prepared for. The day my daughter turned 18, my husband told me I had become unnecessary. He said it calmly, like he was discussing the weather, while our daughter stood behind him with her arms crossed, her silence louder than his words. I still remember her eyes that day. Not angry, not confused, just cold. As if every year I spent raising her had evaporated overnight. That was the day they erased me. I left with a single bag and a dignity that was torn but somehow still alive. The house I had built into a home, the girl I had nursed through every fever, the man I once believed would stand by me, none of them looked back as I walked out. And I told myself one thing as my footsteps echoed down the driveway: survive today. Tomorrow will ask for more. 5 years passed. 5 years of rebuilding. Not revenge. Not success. Just breathing again. I worked small jobs, lived in a quiet rented room, and stitched pieces of myself back together slowly. People think pain is the hardest part. It isn't. The hardest part is waking up every day and pretending you don't wonder if your absence even mattered. I never heard from my daughter. Not once. No birthday calls. No messages. Not even a question asking, "Where are you?" And every year that silence cut deeper. Then one evening, as rain hit my window, my old phone buzzed with an unknown number. The message had no greeting, no explanation. Just one sentence. Your daughter is getting married next month at the Grand Marquis Hotel. For a moment, my breath froze. Not because of the wedding, but because I realized someone out there believed I deserved to know. Someone thought I still had a place in her life, even if she didn't. I didn't intend to attend. What was I going to do? Walk in after 5 years of being erased and pretend I belonged? No. I convinced myself it was better to stay invisible. Until the night before the wedding. I was sitting alone at a small cafe, watching people laugh and live as if life never broke them. A woman at the next table told her son, "One day, when you get married, your mother will stand right beside you, no matter what." That sentence hit me like a glass wall shattering, because I wasn't going to stand beside mine. I wasn't even invited. When I walked home that night, something inside me shifted. Not anger, not pride, just a quiet realization. I did not need permission to see my daughter's happiness. I had earned that right with every sacrifice no one remembered. So I bought a simple dress. Soft fabric, muted color, nothing extravagant. It wasn't for them. It was for me. I wanted to walk in as the woman I had become, not the woman they discarded. The next morning, as I stood outside the hotel, I felt like my chest was too small for my heartbeat. Luxury cars lined the entrance. Guests in shimmering outfits moved like a river of wealth and status. I felt painfully out of place, yet strangely calm, because this wasn't about fitting in. It was about finally stepping out of the shadow where they left me. Inside, the hall glittered with chandeliers, white roses, and polished marble floors. Everything looked perfect, untouched by the cracks underneath. I stood near the doorway, invisible among hundreds, watching the ceremony unfold. My daughter walked in wearing a gown that looked like a dream stitched from light. She looked beautiful, older, more confident, but still the girl I once braided hair for on school mornings. My eyes didn't leave her for a second. Then I saw him, my husband, standing tall, smiling, greeting guests like a king. His voice carried across the hall, warm, proud, full of a charm I once believed was real. For a moment, I wondered if he even remembered the day he asked me to leave. But then it happened. He turned his head casually, scanning the room, and his eyes landed on me. Everything inside him froze. The smile vanished. His hand, midair, slowly lowered. His face drained of color, as if he had seen a ghost he buried long ago. I didn't move. I didn't flinch. I just looked back at him with the calm dignity he tried so hard to steal from me. He started walking toward me. Not fast. Not slow. Just controlled, like a man trying not to show the storm inside him. When he reached me, he didn't greet me. He didn't ask why I was there. His first words were, "Who invited you?" Not, "How are you?" Not, "After 5 years." Just, "Who invited you?" And that told me everything. His voice was low, sharp, almost trembling. Not from anger, no. From fear. Because the woman standing before him was no longer the broken wife he discarded. I had changed, and he didn't know what version of me had walked into his perfect life. I answered quietly. I didn't need an invitation. I'm her mother. His jaw tightened. He looked around, making sure no one was watching. But people were. They always watch when truth threatens to spill. He leaned closer and whispered, "Leave. Don't create a scene here." He didn't realize something. I wasn't there to create a scene. I wasn't there to take anything. I wasn't there to expose him. I was there to see the child I brought into the world take a step into hers. Before I could respond, a soft voice came from behind him. "Mom." My daughter stood a few feet away. Her expression shifted, confusion, disbelief, something like guilt flickering behind her eyes. She looked exactly as she did the day I left, only older, wrapped in luxury now, but carrying the same emotional distance. She walked toward us slowly, her eyes locked on mine like she was seeing a part of her past she'd buried without warning. I didn't say anything. I didn't know if I should smile, cry, apologize, or simply stand still. So I did the only thing that felt right. I breathed. She stopped in front of me, her voice quieter than I expected. "You came?" Just 2 words. But they held years of silence, broken promises, unspoken regrets. Before I could answer, her father stepped between us slightly, controlling the situation the way he always had, but for the first time in his life, he didn't look powerful. He looked terrified. And that was the moment, right there, that the entire story began to shift. For a moment, no one spoke. The music continued softly in the background. The guests kept talking, the ceremony carried on, but around the 3 of us, the world fell silent. My daughter's eyes stayed on me, searching for something she couldn't name. I wasn't sure what she hoped to find: love, anger, regret, answers. But I held her gaze gently, not pushing anything forward. Then she said something I wasn't prepared for. "Why didn't you ever come back?" The question sliced straight through me. Not because it was cruel, but because she genuinely didn't understand. She wasn't asking to blame me. She was asking because she didn't know the truth. Before I could speak, her father stepped in, his voice low and urgent. "This is not the time. We can discuss this after the ceremony." But she ignored him. For the first time in her life, she looked past him instead of at him. "I asked you something," she said quietly. He stiffened. I could see the panic rising behind his polished exterior. He wasn't worried about me. He was worried about the image he built, an image that had no space for the woman he erased. I looked at her, my voice steady. "Because you didn't want me back." She frowned, confusion spreading across her face. "I never said that." "No," I replied softly, "you didn't. But the day I left, you stood there and didn't ask me to stay." That silence felt like a door closing. Her eyebrows pulled together, pain flickering through her expression. I was young. I didn't understand what was happening. Her father shot her a sharp look, as if reminding her of some narrative he had maintained for years. That one glance told me everything. He'd rewritten the story in her mind. He had shaped her memories with his version of the truth. And suddenly, it made sense. Her coldness, her distance, her silence. She hadn't erased me, not on her own. She had learned to forget me. My daughter took a breath. "What did Dad tell you happened?" I asked. She hesitated. Then her voice lowered. "He said you chose to leave us, that you were overwhelmed, that you wanted a different life." A different life. The words hit me like a tidal wave of disbelief. I looked at my husband, once my partner, now a stranger wearing a mask of calm. He didn't flinch. That's when I understood. He hadn't just removed me from the house. He had removed me from her heart. A tightness formed in my chest, but I stayed composed. I looked at my daughter, not with anger, but with a pain that had matured into clarity. "I never left you," I said. I was pushed out. Her eyes widened. No dramatic gasp. No loud reaction. Just a soft, silent shock, the kind that happens when the ground beneath your feet shifts for the first time. She turned to her father slowly. "Is that true?" He didn't answer immediately. His jaw tightened. His breath grew shorter. He glanced around to see who might be watching. His image was his oxygen, and the truth threatened to suffocate him. Finally, he spoke through clenched teeth. "Not here. We'll talk later." But she didn't move. "Tell me now." The firmness in her voice wasn't loud, but it was powerful. It was the voice of a woman refusing to continue the lies she was raised on. Guests nearby began to glance our way, not fully understanding, but sensing the tension. He straightened, regaining a shade of his old composure. "Your mother is twisting things. She left us. That's the truth. I supported you alone for years." My daughter looked back at me. "Is that true?" I didn't argue. I didn't defend. I simply held her gaze and said, "The truth doesn't need force. It just needs time." Something inside her broke. Or maybe something inside her finally woke up. Then she asked softly, "Why would you say she left if she didn't?" Her father didn't answer. He couldn't. His eyes flickered around the room again, scanning for escape. He wasn't worried about her pain. He was worried about exposure. I watched him crumble silently, one crack at a time. My daughter stepped closer to me. Not touching, not embracing, just standing near me instead of him. It was small, but it shook him more than any shout could. He finally snapped. "Enough. This is her wedding day. She doesn't need this drama." But my daughter didn't move. Her voice was fragile but steady. "My wedding day is exactly why I need the truth. I won't build my life on lies." He exhaled sharply, frustration boiling under his skin. "You have no idea what your mother was like back then. She was emotional. Weak. She couldn't handle pressure. I protected you. The old version of me, the one who would shrink, apologize, try to explain, no longer existed. I simply said, if telling the truth makes me look weak, then I was always stronger than you." My daughter's eyes softened. "Mom, I didn't know." I could feel the conflict inside her. Years of one-sided stories colliding with a truth she never questioned. She looked at me again, this time seeing me, not the shadow her father painted, but a woman who survived abandonment. She whispered, "Why didn't anyone tell me?" I answered gently, "Because the truth doesn't chase people. It waits." She blinked back tears. Her mascara trembled at the edge of her lashes. "I don't know what to believe." "You don't have to believe anything right now," I said. "Just listen to your heart for once." Her father stepped forward, voice firm. "You're not ruining this day with emotional nonsense. Come with me." But she didn't move. Instead, she turned fully toward me. That one motion was enough to make him tremble. His facade, polished for years, cracked. Not because I returned, but because she chose to face me. She asked, "Will you stay?" That question. After 5 years of silence. After 5 years of being invisible. Those 3 words reached deeper than any apology ever could. Before I could answer, her father grabbed her wrist, not harshly, but with enough force to make his desperation visible. "We're done here," he said. My daughter slowly pulled her hand away. She didn't shout. She didn't reject him dramatically. She simply removed his hand and stepped toward me. Her father's face drained of color. A man who commanded every room suddenly looked powerless. He couldn't manipulate the moment. He couldn't rewrite the script. The truth was standing in front of him, and he had nowhere left to put it. In that instant, the doors of the hall opened, and the groom's family entered. Conversations paused. Eyes turned. The atmosphere shifted. My daughter looked at me with a quiet strength she didn't have before. "I need a moment with you," she said. She didn't ask her father. She didn't wait for approval. She simply took my hand, gently, hesitantly, but willingly. And her father watched helplessly as the daughter he shaped for years walked away from him and walked toward the truth. That was the moment the wedding really began to unravel.